All right. Well, I'm so glad to see so many of you are chiming in here with just a couple minutes more to go before the beginning of this webinar. My name is David Schenkenecht. I'm the kind of the technical host of this webinar, but we've got some wonderful people who are going to be speaking about Spark Activate Faith with you today. All right, here we are all together. We've got about 54 and counting folks who are on the webinar right now. I do want to maybe go counterclockwise here and mention that Heather Blackstone is with us. She is our resource developer, Congregational Resources, heavily involved in Spark House digital resources, but also some of our adult faith formation materials and even some worship resources here at Augsburg Fortress Publishers. Heather Clausen, another resource developer, has been heavily involved in a brand new confirmation curriculum we're very excited about, Lutheran Yes, with an exclamation point. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that. And especially Dr. Dawn Runman here's with us, our Director of Congregational Development and Marketing of Congregational Resources. Dawn has been so involved in so many of the resources that we use here at Spark House and Augsburg Fortress, in particular, the development of Spark Activate Faith in the OG form, but now in its refreshed form. So pretty excited to talk about some of those things. And in fact, I am going to be putting Dr. Dawn up in front of us first with the presentation, so that
we began to develop Spark Activate Faith Sunday School in 2007. Now, at that time, I was the parent of a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And so I think of all the time that has gone by, because my 3-year-old is now graduating from college. My 1-year-old now just finished her first year. So Spark has been around for a while. Before we published Spark, we had a lectionary curriculum, and then we had a separate rotation curriculum, and we had a separate classroom curriculum that did the salvation story arc. And our research at that time told us that children's ministry leaders really wanted a more unified approach to doing Sunday school. They wanted a Sunday school that was rooted in kids learning Bible stories, but also learning biblical literacy. And what became clear to us is that we needed to have one Sunday school that had multiple models to meet your needs. So we published Spark Lectionary and Classroom and Rotation in 2009. And then about 10 years later, we added Spark All Kids so that you would have options for those Sunday school settings where you might have just a few kids between kindergarten and 6th grade, so kids could be all together. Now, all of the Spark curriculum has as its cornerstone our Spark Bibles. So let's take a look at what makes Spark Spark. And that is this 4-part lesson flow, starting with a gather time with activities that welcome kids in, an open the Bible time that gets kids into their Spark Bibles, hearing and reading and experiencing the Bible story, and then moving to activate faith, which is a time when we designed activities that tap into kids' multiple intelligences or multiple modes or modalities of learning. And we always give lots of options for that activate faith time so that you as a leader can pick what would work best with your kids. We wrap everything up during the send time, and kids get a take-home page so that their families know what they did in Sunday school. Now, a core part of the Spark experience is having your leader guide that gives you very clear directions for how to set things up and what supplies you'll need. It includes bolded script, so you know what you can say in class, and you get lots of those activity options. Another core part of the Spark experience is for kids to have a leaflet. These leaflets are designed differently for different ages, and they give kids a really colorful way to connect with the Bible story, to connect with each other, to try different activities, and to really help the kids articulate when they bring that leaflet home and the parent or other caregiver says, "What did you do in Sunday school?" They have a great way to talk about that Bible story and how it connects to their own faith. Now, in addition to these core elements of Spark, Spark includes plenty of what we call ancillaries. You can see the listing there, And we want to make sure that with every Spark lesson, you have options. And these ancillary pieces are included with every Spark lesson. You'll see over on the other side of this slide, that's me from 2009. And I am doing one of many, probably hundreds of lesson prep videos that I was part of, as well as fellow team members, helping you as a leader prepare by watching a quick video instead of needing to read something. Now, we are not doing or redoing any of those lesson prep videos. They are still there, so you can see me in all of my 2009 to 2011 glory. But if we go to the next slide, we can take a look at the fact that most of these parts of Spark are not changing, or if they are, they're doing so in minor ways. We want you to know with this Spark refresh that how you teach Spark doesn't have to change. What we are changing is the Bibles that you'll use, the way that you access leaflets, and some minor parts of the curriculum. And my colleagues, Heather Blackstone and Heather Clausen, are going to give you more information about those changes. Translation.
Hello, can you all hear me? I'm guessing. So as Dawn mentioned, I'm going to begin by talking about the development that inspired the Spark refresh, and that is the NRSVUE, also known as the New Revised Standard Version, Updated Edition. And I will explain a little bit about what that is and why it is. So on the next slide, at the very bottom, you can see a link to the Friendship Press site. There you will find all of the information you could possibly want or need about the NRSVUE, and I will give you just a little bit of highlights here. So unless it's been otherwise stated, all of the resources that we create for SparkHouse and Augsburg Fortress have historically used the NRSV as our translation. The NRSV was first published in 1989, and since then, scholars and theologians have learned more about the cultures that we get to encounter in Scripture. There have also been new developments in our understanding of the languages the Bible was written in and how those evolved from one period of time to the next. Additionally, there was a desire to update the text so that it was clearer, more culturally sensitive, and used language that was much more inclusive. And so looking at what led to the process, the National Council of Churches, who owns the copyright to the NRSV, began a 4-year audit and edit that has led to the creation of the NRSV UE. So with this addition, we at Augsburg Fortress and SparkHouse and anyone else who uses the NRSV are legally obligated to use only the NRSV UE in their resources. So if you use Bible Gateway or Ramus, if you use Sundays and Seasons or a similar website to collect and download Sunday readings for your bulletins or your PowerPoint, you may notice that there are sometimes differences if you have a lector or a pastor who is reading from a pew Bible or their personal Bible. And so I'm going to show you just some of the high-level changes that were made to the text. So we're going to start in the beginning. So this is Genesis 1. Many of us are familiar with it starting in the beginning when God created the heavens. And the NRSVUE has when God began to create. So a small change. A bigger change that we have seen is with the use of the word leprosy. So here in this example from 2 Kings, we have the healing of Naaman. So leprosy or Hansen's disease did not exist during Bible times. So most, not every reference to leprosy in the Bible, but most references like this one here has been changed from leprosy to skin disease, which is a little bit more generic and encompasses many more illnesses or diagnoses that someone can have. A similar change was made with the word slave. And so while it still appears in the NRSV UE, more often than not, it's been changed to enslaved person. Another change, one that's a little bit more uncomfortable, is this one from Matthew. This is, of course, the Lord's Prayer. And as you can see, the hallowed be thy name has been changed and reworded just a little bit. This is a good one to know before you open your new NRSVUEs with your kids and teach them the prayer. Another change you may have noticed on Christmas Eve is from the Nativity story. So we, for years, have always heard the use of the word inn, and that has been updated to guest house. So this example and the use of the word leprosy and slaves were changes that many of us were already making when we were preparing sermons or Bible studies and Sunday school lessons, and then would have to often provide kind of awkward explanations. So a lot of these changes that we see with the NRSVUE are really welcomed. Others with the Lord's Prayer are a little more interesting. And so if all of this is new to you, if you have not heard at all of the NRSVUE, if you haven't seen any of the changes, I want to reiterate that these are the high-level changes that were made. Most of the changes have been like this from Matthew. Where it's very minor or punctuation, or this next slide from Psalms. There have been many places where commas have been changed to semicolons and vice versa, commas removed. Most of the changes that we have seen are just with punctuation. And so not so much to the text. So we don't need to be quite as anxious as it might seem at sometimes. So the creation of the NRSVUE, of course, meant that we are legally required by the National Council of Churches to update all of our Bibles. And this includes, as we have here, our beloved Spark Bible. And so even though this is a time-tested, so just used by so many people, we also knew that it was just kind of time for an update. A lot has changed since 2009. Kids are more sophisticated than they were. And it was just time for a refresh. At the same time, we wanted to keep the new version as similar to the Bible as you have been using in gifting for so many years. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek at the brand new Spark NRSVUE Bible. Actually, David, if you could, well, you can stay here. That's okay. This will be available in just the next few months. The images that you are seeing of the new Bible actually are just from our design team, because we don't even have a hard copy of the Bible yet. It is being printed as we speak. So it will still have all of the same key features. We will still have the stickers to help kids connect with the Bible. We will have the maps in the back. There are kid-friendly introductions to each of the books of the Bible, along with updated definitions, facts, trivia, questions to help kids think about their faith. One note is it will continue to be designed for grades 3 through 6. However, we know that with the reality of church and just life for a lot of kids today, the Bible that they are given in 3rd grade is often the only Bible, or sometimes the only Bible they will ever have for their entire lives. And so we wanted to make this new Spark Bible to continue to be very approachable, and as unintimidating as a 1,400 plus page book can possibly be to a kid, but we didn't want it to look too kid-like. So you may notice that just overall, it looks a little bit more mature than the previous version. We also wanted to encourage the attachment that we develop with certain Bibles. So even if these students grow up and collect 20 plus Bibles, we would love for this to be their favorite, the one that they've always used and makes them feel really comfortable. And we would like them to just feel as though they can use this far into adulthood. So I will show you just side-by-sides of some of the inside spreads, just so you can see how similar. So this is our table of contents. As you can see, almost identical, same font, slightly different layout, or well, just moved up a bit, and different colored font. One change here to note with the NRSVUE is the book Song of Solomon has been changed to Song of Songs. So that is one change you will see throughout. The next slide will look very familiar. You've probably seen use everything in your Spark Bible with all the little descriptions of the different features that are in the Bible. The new version looks very, very similar, just a little bit cleaner, but you can see all of the details, all of those extras are still there. We also, in our next slide, is the a 3-page spread of Genesis. So you can see we have the book intro, we have the Did You Know section, the Think About It section, as well as definitions in the scholar's margin. In the new version, we have exactly the same information, just a little bit cleaner and hopefully easier to read. So as you can see, a much needed refresh. Hopefully we'll continue to take this Bible many more generations and continue to be a source of growth for so many people. And so as our NRSV UE meant we needed to change our Bibles, we therefore had to change our curriculum and gave us the opportunity to do a refresh there. So with that, I will send you to my colleague, Heather.
Yes, so because we had to look at every piece of curriculum to match it up to the new NRSV UE, we thought as long as we're looking at every piece of curriculum, we will also take this opportunity to update other things as well. So it's important to remember that this is a curriculum refresh and not a redo, because we know that this curriculum has stood the test of time for a long time. So you will notice, as Heather previously mentioned, that some language has changed and some words have changed. And so, David, if you want to go to the next slide, we can see some examples of some of the language and words that have been updated. So instead of always saying moms and dads, because we know that there are lots of family structures now, we have changed that to parents or caregivers, loving adults, caring adults. That language has been changed. Brothers and sisters has been changed to siblings. The he, she pronouns have been changed to their. Referencing God as a he, we now reference God as God. Heather mentioned slaves and leprosy. Those words have been changed. It is important to note that there are some instances where the previous word or phrase is still used, but and the majority of the times that those words were in the curriculum, we have changed them to be the newer words you can see there. Another change that has been made is that some of the triggering language that was embedded in the curriculum has been taken out or changed. So I have some examples here. Previously, it said slaves would call it a good day if they weren't beaten or had enough straw to make all the bricks. And I really don't know that a slave would ever call it a good day. So we have changed things like that. So it is now worded to be, the Israelites had it bad under Pharaoh. They suffered every day and God suffered with them. Another change of language, instead of saying who is the boss of you, that's been changed and updated to say who takes care of you or who is in charge of you. And another example is here I am, I will do whatever you want. That has been changed to here I am and I hear you. So we were trying to be really sensitive to triggering language and changing that and updating that to be less triggering. And other refresh that we've done is that photos have been updated. We have really worked to incorporate more diversity and representation in the photos that are now part of the curriculum and the leaflets. We have updated images, and we know since 2009, technology has changed a lot. So other references to older versions of technology that kids might not even recognize today have also been updated. So I have a few examples of some updated photos you can see on the next slide. On the upper left, while it's a great photo and everyone looks happy, we don't know if that car is moving and kids are hanging out the window. And so that's been updated and changed to the top right photo where a car is safely parked and a family looks like they're packing up their car to get ready for vacation. On the lower left, you see a picture of a very static picture of a very old looking swing set. So that's been updated to the photo on the right, where it brings the photo and the swing set to life. You can see kids having fun and playing in the photo. I have a couple other examples on the next slide of some photos that have been changed. You can see just some diversity and inclusion has been added. And then the bottom left picture has been changed to real people on the bottom right. So you'll notice some changes like that in the photos that have been updated. And on the next slide, you'll see that we've also reconsidered the student experience and what kids are being asked to do and physically do during the Spark lessons. So we've changed fonts on the leaflets so that they are more readable, because we know that kids are not all taught cursive these days and they can't all read loopy fonts. And then we've also taken into consideration visual challenges that kids might have with eye tracking activities that were part of the leaflets. And I have some examples I'll show you in a minute. On the next slide, we'll see some more examples of how the student experience has been reconsidered, such as personal space is being honored. Activities that involve kids holding hands or hugging or twisting around together physically have been updated. Some have been taken out. Some are still there, but we've also included non-touch alternatives or ways kids could maybe opt out and participate in a different non-physical way. And we've also considered activities so that they can be more accessible to kids whose bodies move in different ways. So physical movement around the classroom space has been considered, with alternative ways that kids with disabilities and different ways of moving can also be included in those activities. On the next slide, you will see an example of an eye tracking activity that has been changed, because on the left, the activity is that kids have to look at the images and then they have to identify what's different between the top picture and the bottom picture. And as they do that, they draw a line between the top picture and the bottom picture through a letter connecting the change. But that is a really difficult. And if you see a change on one side and then on the other side of the picture, you're crossing out the wrong letter. And it just was a really difficult activity. So instead, the letters have been taken out and it is simply a circle the difference in the pictures activity. There is no more eye tracking. Kids don't have to be exact in the letter that they cross out as they do the activity. So just some things like that have been updated. And you will see on the next slide that the cursive font I mentioned has been changed to a more readable font. Before we go to the next slide, I do want to mention that although stickers will still be included in the NRSV UE Bibles, they will no longer be included in the leaflets. And you won't see examples of that now, but some examples of that change include the image. Sticker image has just been filled in. Some activities, instead of placing a sticker, kids might circle something. Instead of placing word stickers, they now are writing in a box with a word bank to reference the words. So the sticker activities have been changed in the leaflets as well. And finally, a change that has been made is that we hope you as leaders have become more equipped in facilitating this curriculum. We have provided alternatives for movement. We've provided different language and inclusivity that you can use and incorporate as you continue to guide your students through this curriculum. So again, it's a refresh, not a redo. And I will now pass it back to Dawn.
Thank you, Heather. I understand my audio was a little choppy, and so I'm waiting to hear from my colleagues if my audio sounds better. I have switched devices. I get a thumbs up from Heather. Very good. We're going to talk in our last couple minutes about leaflet changes. We have decided, and this is based on research we've done with children's ministry leaders like you, we have decided to move to an all-digital delivery method for our leaflets. We have surveyed over 300 children's ministry leaders, different sizes of congregations, different geographic regions, different denominations. And what we heard from a large majority is that you want digital delivery of your leaflets. instead of purchasing print ones from us. And a main reason for that is you want to reduce the waste that happens, because you know that when you buy 10 leaflet packs at the beginning of the quarter, you might only be using 6 or 7 by the end of the quarter. So the next slide is going to help orient you to how we are switching to downloadable leaflets instead of selling them in print. This means, like my colleague Heather said, we do not have stickers for the lower 3 age levels that you have to make copies of. There's no more stickers with those lower 3 age levels. There will be alternate activities, just as fun. We are giving you, though, 2 options. One is to purchase digital leaflet downloads for a given quarter and grade level. So, for example, the grades 1-2 leaflets for lectionary year A fall. All of those leaflet downloads are going to cost $29.99 per grade level for a quarter. That is one method of accessing. The other is to subscribe to a new tier of SparkHouse Digital that we are calling SparkHouse Digital Deluxe. And that means that you will pay an additional amount for your subscription, and you will have access to all the Spark leaflets for that quarter for all the grade levels. So in one option, you're only purchasing the downloads for the age levels you need by quarter. With Deluxe, you get access to everything for that quarter, and we'll start offering these options on July 1st. Now we'll take a look at the next slide, and that is going to show you this pricing. You can take a screen capture of this. We will release this. You can watch the replay. What this is showing is in the second column, what you're currently paying for a SparkHouse Digital subscription. In the third column, what the SparkHouse Digital Deluxe price is. And in the fourth column, we're doing some math for you to show for the increase from SparkHouse Digital to Deluxe, how many leaflet packs in print could you have purchased per quarter for that amount? And you can see in that first row, the difference between the regular and deluxe price is $200. That would be able to purchase you 30 leaflet packs. Now, again, we're not going to be printing new print leaflets anymore. But if you bought 30 of those, that would mean you could use about 10 of them every quarter in your Sunday school. And if you're at the 1 to 25 band of subscribing to SparkHouse Digital, buying 10 for each quarter is kind of in the lower part of that 1 to 25 range. And the math gets, I know, a little bit jaunty here, but what we have priced SparkHouse Digital to do is really give you the option to have the deluxe subscription more than make up for, or more than be, I was going to say more than be less than. That's not right either. The SparkHouse Digital Deluxe subscription offers you a way to have access to all the leaflets for a quarter across all the models in a way that you are typically paying much less than if you were purchasing print leaflets for all of those quarters across the models, or even for one model in particular. So again, take a screen capture of this. We're ready to answer questions about these prices if you have questions, but we did this very deliberately so that that price would be less than what just about everybody is typically paying for print leaflets by quarter. So we will look at the next slide. Excuse me. And Heather and Heather are back, and it is because we are wrapping things up here. So how should I get my leaflets? If you need some recommendations from us, we think that if you are a SparkHouse Digital subscriber already, that's kind of a natural reason to upgrade to Deluxe. Maybe you want to buy in print if you're not a subscriber, or if you really are only buying leaflets for a few age levels. When you purchase that digital download for $29.99, you do have access to print those leaflets as long as you're doing Spark from year to year, or from two or 3 year cycles, depending on whether you're doing classroom or lectionary. And if you can store those and name them and know that, oh, we'll need those in 2 years, I'll know exactly where to find them. That's another reason where you may think that the digital download will work. With SparkHouse Digital Deluxe, as long as you're subscribed, you have access to all the leaflet content all the time. So that may be a reason to have SparkHouse Digital Deluxe as your subscription level. And the final row there in making your decision, you can do the math and figure out how much more would you be paying for SparkHouse Digital Deluxe versus just purchasing downloads. Again, we are ready to help you do that math if you need to. And we think SparkHouse Digital Deluxe is a great choice if you're sort of picking and choosing from the different Spark models. So hopefully that helps you get a view of how you can choose which method to get your leaflets. Here comes
All right,
Dave.
I am looking at a few questions here that I'm going to drag onto the screen that hopefully we can respond to one way or another. But before I get to a couple of questions here, and certainly if you've got any that haven't been added to the comment section, please do. I just want to say that there has been some real appreciation for going to the digital leaflets. So it's nice to hear that has been received well. Related to some of the things that you just talked about, Dawn, here's a question regarding to how you can get access to leaflets in SparkHouse Digital. Will you only have access to those leaflets for that quarter, or will they all be available always?
Well, for starters, we're releasing them by quarter because we're developing them. And so what we typically don't do with SparkHouse Digital is have all 3 years of lectionary content up and available, because we don't want people to be confused when they're downloading their particular lectionary content. So you would be able to have leaflets for fall, and winter is released in October. In the future, we may be have leaflets for that year of lectionary. So you could take a look and preview if you needed to.
All right. There's some questions about the Spark Story Bible.
The answer is no. We are leaving the Spark Story Bible as it is. We talked about that a little bit, but we really think since it's a story Bible and how the stories are told is informed by the biblical text, but of course has that wonderful storytelling emphasis, we are not making any changes to that Bible.
Is there any refreshment done of the artwork and the color sheets, the leaflets?
Heather, do you want to respond to that one?
It's not across the board. It sort of depends on the lesson. So in some places, yes, especially if the lesson has had to change because of the updates to the NRSV UE, or just as Heather Clausen mentioned, just some of the things that we saw that needed to be updated. But in general, most of them will stay the same, especially the coloring sheets, because those are taken from the Spark Story Bible. So those will stay the same as they've been.
How about this one here? I'm trying to manage a number of questions here, so I'm sorry if I've missed yours. Any chance there'll be a soft leather or imitation leather version of the new Bible?
We're not planning a leather cover or an imitation leather cover. We do have a soft cover and a paperback version and a hardcover version for people to choose from. We know sometimes the hardcover version is more chosen by people more to be like a gift Bible for a presentation during worship. But I understand kids can be hard on their Bibles.
Will you have access to past quarters you purchased after the quarter ends? As a congregation that doesn't use all the leaflets in one quarter, we tend to have a year of lessons out of one quarter.
If you've purchased the digital download, those are yours to keep for congregational use at your congregation. So you can use those as long as you have them saved and stored. But with SparkHouse Digital Deluxe, you would be able to access the quarter that you're in, and the quarters coming up. again, we hesitate to have all 9 quarters of lectionary available on Sparkhouse Digital because it can seem overwhelming trying to kind of wade through what you need. But like I don't think we've come up with the hard and fast rules for the new Spark Refresh content. And when we take things off, we just know we don't want to have all 9 quarters there to overwhelm our lectionary folks.
What about the classroom folks and other folks, just to respond to a couple of other comments here?
Classroom and all kids, because you can use year green or year orange in any given year, we keep both of those years up for you to choose from to match whatever color year you're in.
Here's a question about future development of Spark. Have we thought about moving Spark Activate Faith into lectionary lessons for summer?
We do not have lectionary lessons for Spark planned for summer. If you are a Sparkhouse Digital customer, if you have a subscription to Sparkhouse Digital, we do have lectionary content there for this summer. We have Spark worship bulletins within the Spark brand. If you wanted to try something new, you could actually look at what Whirl offers, one of our other Sunday school curriculum, because that has a summer director guide, and that gives you a large group experience for every week of the summer based on the lectionary, along with children's messages, worship bulletins, and a feature we call Sunday Funnies, which is a downloadable page that has like a comic with the Whirl kids from the animated videos who have an adventure together. And then there's some things that families can do together as well. So while we don't have sort of a full-fledged Spark lectionary curriculum for the summer, we have options with our Whirl curriculum on Sparkhouse Digital. And we also have lots of options within our Sparkhouse Digital subscription.
Yeah, so we're quite a bit over the half-hour time that we sort of allotted for this, but it's great to have all these great questions. Maybe just one last look at the pricing, Dawn, if you would,
Sure.
in this question here. So what would you say to Stephanie?
For Stephanie, that subscription price of $399 is for your year of subscribing to Sparkhouse Digital Deluxe.
Great. So that would include 3/4 worth of lessons, worth of the leaflets then.
Right. And just a reminder with Sparkhouse Digital and Deluxe, you also get access within that children's module to all of our Whirl curriculum, all of our Holy Moly curriculum, and those all include lesson videos, plus a whole slew of content that Heather Blackstone perpetually works on to make sure you are equipped with children's messages, children's church activities. It's a lot, as Heather can attest to.
There is a lot in Sparkhouse Digital. Don't forget to look at bonus content. New, all the time.
Right.
Stuff can.
Right. We're big on maps. Like I saw all the maps today in a meeting, and I thought that is a lot of maps for people.
A lot of maps.
Well, probably just in closing, this is kind of nice for you all. Thank you for saying that, Calissa. We really do appreciate that. And this is a hardworking team. They are cranking out a lot of stuff for you all, and they're really excited to be able to bring Spark Activate Faith into the present reality, and I did a great job of doing that. So thank you very much. We got a couple of closing slides here just to kind of recap what we've been talking about. So I'm going to bring the presentation back up on the stage, and just in closing, again, thank you for being with us for this webinar. It will be in a recorded form so that you can take a look at later. We do want to say that this has all happened. So at a glance, what's changing and why. New translation, downloadable only, modernized content. We went through what was happening with Spark NRSV UE, the leaflets, the content more specifically. A lot of things are staying the same. And I think that's really important with a flagship curriculum like Spark Activate Faith. People have come to trust the session flow and the ability to interact with the kids and how to prepare for lessons, the leaders. And so there's much that is staying the same. But SparkHouse Digital is getting a boost with SparkHouse Digital Plus. And really, Spark Activate Faith is really just the beginning of what we're planning on doing with SparkHouse Digital Plus. So keep your eyes on that over the future. All right. And if anyone wants to learn a little bit more about what's going on here, I would encourage you to take a look at the SparkHouse blog. There's a wonderful SparkHouse blog. If you want to flash that QR code on the screen, you can maybe get a kind of a different way of looking at the things that we've talked about today. So we did put something up there in the SparkHouse blog. You flash it or just go to wearesparkhouse.org, and you can go up to the upper right-hand corner where you find those little tabs and see the SparkHouse blog tab. And just by way of, we know this is a big transition. And so, Dawn, would you like to say a little bit more about this slide?
Sure. We know that some of you may think, it's a little too early to change, or we have some leaflets already, or like, should we just dump all those? And like, what should we do regarding this inventory issue? So we are offering all of our existing leader guides and leaflets of what we're calling the first edition of Spark Activate Faith. They are available now, really kind of while supplies last. If you use the promo code Spark Thanks when you're purchasing from our web store, or you can always call us, you'll receive 25% off those leaflets and those leader guides, as many as you'd like to order. So they're I don't want to sound alarmist, but like it is while supplies last. And so for some of them, we don't have that many left. But if you'd like one more year of having the print that kids hold in their hands be something you purchase from us as printed resources, you might want to take advantage of this, or you might figure, we're ready to go fully digital. And if that's the case, starting July 1st, you can make your choices either with digital leaflet downloads or by subscribing to SparkHouse Digital Deluxe.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much for participating in this introduction to the Spark Refresh. We are happy to hear that there's a lot of love for Spark Activate Faith, and love for some great things in SparkHouse Digital, Heather, especially the children's church options. So that's great. A lot of appreciation here for the things you all are doing. So thank you again, developers, and thank you again, practitioners of faith formation, because we are a team in this, truly. And so we really appreciate the opportunity to have this kind of conversation with you all. Someone that's asking, are we going to do something similar for Lutheran? Yes. And the answer is yes. we are going to be doing that. So just watch for that as well. All right. With that, take care. And if you want to look at the on-demand version, it'll be showing up soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.